What happens when a global icon known for strength, grace, and quiet power walks straight into a storm she never saw coming? What happens when a woman who played a warrior on screen finds herself in a very real battle under studio lights, with millions watching and no script to guide her? Before we dive into this explosive moment, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join Stage View for more cinematic celebrity showdowns. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments and buckle up, because this one unfolds like a scene straight out of a Hollywood thriller. The cameras glide across the studio of The View, the applause sign flashing red, then white. The audience claps politely at first, then louder as the host introduces her. Please welcome the incredible, the unstoppable Gal Gadot. She steps out in a tailored ivory suit, posture straight, smile composed. There's something about her presence, calm but commanding, the kind of energy that makes a room shift. She waves, shakes hands, and takes her seat at the table. To her right sits Behar, eyes sharp, lips curled in a knowing half-smile. The conversation begins lightly. "So Gal," one of the co-hosts says warmly, "you've been busy, new film, new projects, and still somehow managing to look effortless." Gal laughs softly. "It's coffee. Lots of coffee." The audience chuckles. The tension is non-existent. For now. Joy leans forward slightly. "You've built a career on playing strong women. Wonder Woman. Leaders. Fighters. Do you ever feel like that image overshadows who you really are?" Gal tilts her head, considering. "I think strength comes in many forms. It's not always about fighting. Sometimes it's about compassion." There's polite applause. But Joy isn't done. "Compassion," Joy repeats. Interesting word, because strength and politics sometimes collide. And you've been vocal. There it is. The shift. Gal's smile tightens almost imperceptibly. The audience quiets, sensing the turn. "I've spoken about things that matter to me," Gal replies evenly. "As a human being." Joy crosses her arms lightly on the table. "Some would say celebrities should stick to movies. That politics and world affairs are more complicated than Instagram statements." A murmur ripples through the crowd. Gal keeps her gaze steady. "I don't think caring about human lives is complicated." The studio air grows heavier. Joy's tone sharpens, not loud but pointed. "But when you speak, millions listen. That's power. And power comes with responsibility. Do you worry that your words can divide?" Gal inhales slowly. For a split second, the warrior facade slips, revealing something deeply personal beneath. "I worry about silence more," she says. The audience reacts, some applause, some uneasy shifting. Joy raises an eyebrow. "So silence is worse than potentially inflaming tensions?" The question hangs like a blade. Gal leans forward now, no longer reclined in polite interview posture. When innocent people suffer, silence feels like complicity. The temperature in the room drops. You can almost hear the control room scrambling. Producers glance at monitors. Social media interns begin typing furiously. This is no longer promo chatter about box office numbers. This is something raw. Joy's smile fades. "But your perspective isn't neutral, is it?" There's a collective intake of breath. Gal doesn't blink. No one's is. The audience erupts, half clapping, half gasping. Joy presses on. "Some critics say your statements ignore certain narratives. That they're one-sided." Gal's voice lowers, but it grows firmer. "Pain isn't one-sided. I have family. I have history. I speak from my experience." Joy interjects quickly. "But experience doesn't equal expertise." That line lands hard. The audience reaction is immediate, an audible "oh" from somewhere in the back row. For the first time, Gal's composure cracks just slightly. Her jaw tightens. The calm actress transforms into something closer to the warrior she once portrayed. "I've never claimed to be an expert," she says carefully. "I claim to be human." Joy leans back, folding her hands. "But when you post something, it influences public opinion. And when you speak here," Gal counters gently, "doesn't it?" The crowd erupts in applause. Joy smiles thinly. "Touché." But the tension isn't resolved. It's escalating. The conversation pivots, at least on the surface, to her latest project. A film about resilience and survival. Clips roll on the studio screen. Dramatic music fills the air. The audience applauds again. Yet the undercurrent remains. Joy circles back. "You play heroes. Women who fight injustice. Do you think Hollywood sometimes simplifies real-world conflicts into good versus evil?" Gal pauses. "This is the question beneath all the others." "I think stories help people understand emotion," she says. But reality is always more complicated. Joy nods. Exactly. So do you think your public statements sometimes simplify? There it is again, the trap. Gal's voice softens. When you only have 280 characters, yes. Everything is simplified. A few laughs break the tension. Joy smiles, but her eyes remain intent. So would you change anything you've said? The room is silent now. Gal looks out at the audience. She sees faces, some supportive, some skeptical. She knows every word will be clipped, shared, dissected. No, she says finally. But I would add more listening. The line lands with unexpected grace. Joy blinks, momentarily thrown off. Listening to who? To everyone, Gal replies, including those who disagree with me. The atmosphere shifts again, less combative, more introspective. But Joy isn't finished. Do you think being a global star shields you from consequences ordinary people face for similar opinions? That question feels heavier. Personal. Gal's eyes narrow slightly, not in anger, but in focus. I don't feel shielded. I feel exposed. The honesty catches even Joy off guard. Exposed. The word echoes through the studio. Joy studies her. Exposed how? When you're visible, Gal says quietly, you become a symbol. And symbols get attacked. The audience falls silent again, this time not from tension, but from recognition. Joy nods slowly. And you're okay with that? Gal gives a small, almost weary smile. You don't choose visibility halfway. The applause this time is strong. Sustained. But there's still electricity crackling between them. Joy leans in one last time, her tone softer but still probing. If you could say one thing to the people who feel hurt by your words, what would it be? Gal doesn't hesitate. I'm listening. 3 simple words. And somehow they carry more weight than any argument. The cameras cut to the audience, some wiping away tears, others whispering to each other. Social media is already exploding. Clips are being edited in real time. Headlines are forming before the show even ends. But inside the studio, the moment lingers. Joy studies Gal for a beat longer than television timing usually allows. There's something unspoken there, not agreement, not surrender, but respect forged in friction. Well, Joy says finally, a hint of a smile returning, that's more than most people offer these days. The tension eases slightly. The segment wraps with polite applause, but everyone in that room knows they just witnessed something different. Not a shouting match, not a meltdown, but a clash of conviction and vulnerability. As the show cuts to commercial, the hosts exchange glances. Producers whisper urgently. Audience members pull out their phones. And Gal sits back in her chair, breathing out slowly, her warrior armor invisible but unmistakable. What began as a promotional appearance has turned into a defining television moment. But this is only the beginning, because when the cameras come back on, the real confrontation is about to unfold. The applause fades, but the air doesn't clear. When the show returns from commercial on The View, the lighting feels harsher somehow. Or maybe it's just the mood. The audience claps on cue, but the rhythm is uneven now. Less celebratory, more anticipatory. Gal Gadot sits poised, fingers lightly interlocked on the table. Her expression is composed, but her eyes are sharper than before. Across from her, Joy Behar adjusts her notes, glancing down, then up again with unmistakable intent. We're back with Gal Gadot, Joy says, her tone bright but edged. And before the break, we were talking about public responsibility. A few audience members shift in their seats. Everyone senses the continuation. Joy turns her body slightly toward Gal. I want to go a little deeper because this is important. You've spoken about unity and compassion. But critics argue that when public figures speak during global conflicts, even well-intentioned words can feel like choosing sides. Gal nods slowly. I understand that perspective. Joy tilts her head. Do you? The question lands softer than the earlier jabs, but it cuts deeper. Gal pauses before answering. I do, because pain doesn't exist in a vacuum. When one person expresses grief, someone else may feel unseen. There's a murmur of agreement from parts of the audience. Joy leans in. So why not stay silent? Focus on your films, your family. Avoid the storm. For the first time, Gal's smile disappears completely. Because silence doesn't protect anyone, she says. It only protects comfort. The audience reacts, some applause, some sharp inhales. Joy's eyebrows lift. Comfort for who? For people who don't want to be uncomfortable, Gal replies, her voice steady but charged. Joy lets out a short laugh, not mocking, but incredulous. That's a very actor answer. The words hang there. Gal's gaze flickers. What does that mean? It means Joy continues, that it sounds poetic. But real-world consequences aren't poetic. They're messy. And when celebrities speak, it can inflame situations that are already volatile. The studio grows quiet again. Gal leans forward slightly. You think my words inflame violence? Joy doesn't back down. I think influence is powerful. And power can escalate tension. Gal inhales, visibly grounding herself. Her voice lowers, more personal now. When I was younger, I didn't dream of being influential. I dreamed of telling stories, of connecting. But once you're given a platform, you can't pretend it doesn't exist. Joy folds her hands. So you feel obligated? I feel responsible, Gal says. Responsible to who? Joy presses. To my conscience. The audience reacts again. This time louder applause from one side of the studio, hesitant silence from the other. Joy glances toward the crowd. And what about responsibility to those who feel your statements erase their suffering? That question shifts something. Gal's composure tightens. I have never wanted to erase anyone's suffering. But intent and impact aren't the same, Joy counters swiftly. The words hit like a drumbeat. For a moment, Gal says nothing. The silence stretches long enough to make producers uneasy. You're right, Gal finally says. Intent and impact are not the same. The admission surprises the room. Joy's eyes narrow slightly, sensing vulnerability. So has the impact of your words ever made you reconsider? Gal's voice becomes softer, more reflective. It's made me more careful, more aware, but not less honest. Joy nods slowly. Honesty can hurt. So can avoidance, Gal replies. The tension builds again, but it's different now, less combative, more philosophical. Yet the undercurrent is still sharp. Joy shifts gears slightly. You played Wonder Woman, a symbol of truth and justice. Do you feel trapped by that image? Like people expect you to be morally flawless. A faint smile returns to Gal's face. Wonder Woman is fiction. But you aren't, Joy says. No, Gal agrees. And I make mistakes. I learn. I grow. Just like everyone else. Joy studies her carefully. But not everyone else has 100 million followers. A ripple of nervous laughter moves through the audience. Gal exhales. That number doesn't make me less human. No, Joy says. It makes you more visible. The two women lock eyes. The atmosphere feels like the quiet before a thunderclap. Joy picks up a card from the table. There was a moment online, after one of your posts, when backlash was intense. Has that ever scared you? The question shifts from accusation to curiosity. Gal's shoulders relax slightly. Yes. The honesty lands heavier than any argument. Yes, Joy repeats, surprised. Yes, Gal says again. Because when millions of people are angry, it feels overwhelming. You question yourself. You wonder if you said it wrong. If you could have said it better. Joy softens, just a fraction. And what did you conclude? That I can't control how everyone interprets me, Gal answers. Only how sincerely I speak. The audience applauds again, more unified this time. But Joy isn't entirely convinced. Sincerity doesn't always equal accuracy, she says. Gal's jaw tightens slightly. Are you questioning my accuracy? I'm questioning the idea that celebrities can simplify complex geopolitical issues into social media captions, Joy replies calmly. There it is, the sharpest blade yet. The studio grows very still. Gal's voice remains controlled, but there's steel beneath it now. I don't claim to solve geopolitical issues. I speak about humanity. And humanity, Joy says gently but firmly, exists on all sides. The words echo. Gal nods slowly. Yes, it does. Then why do your statements sometimes sound one-directional? Joy asks. The audience leans in collectively. Gal's expression shifts, less defensive, more introspective. Because when something hits close to home, you speak from where you stand. Joy doesn't blink. But standing in one place limits perspective. And moving doesn't erase where you started, Gal replies. A wave of applause crashes through the studio. Joy lets the applause die down before speaking again. You're very articulate. Thank you, Gal says cautiously. But articulation isn't the same as accountability. The temperature drops again. Gal's eyes flash, just briefly. I am accountable. To who? Joy presses again. To the people I represent, Gal answers. And who is that? Joy challenges. The question feels dangerous. Gal takes a breath. I represent myself, my family, my heritage, and the belief that human lives matter. Joy studies her for a long moment. The studio is silent except for the faint hum of equipment. And what about the people who don't see themselves in your statements? Joy asks quietly. Gal's voice softens once more. Then I need to listen harder. This time, the applause is stronger. Longer. Even Joy can't suppress a small nod. But tension still lingers, unresolved. Joy glances at the camera. These are difficult conversations, and we appreciate you being willing to have them. Gal offers a faint smile. They're necessary conversations. Joy's lips curve slightly. Necessary doesn't mean comfortable. Gal meets her gaze. Growth rarely is. The audience responds with a mix of laughter and applause. For a moment, it seems like the storm has passed. But then Joy adds one more question, quieter, more personal. Has this ever made you wish you weren't so visible? Gal doesn't answer immediately. Her eyes flick briefly toward the audience, then back to Joy. Yes, she says honestly. Sometimes. The vulnerability shifts the entire room. But, she continues, visibility also means opportunity. Opportunity to advocate, to support, to connect. Joy leans back, considering her. And you're willing to take the hits that come with that? Gal nods. If it means staying true to what I believe. Yes. The applause is loud now, sustained, emotional. Joy exhales slowly, a subtle smile forming. Well, that's conviction. Gal returns the smile, smaller but genuine. Yet as the segment nears its end, there's an unspoken awareness that this exchange will not stay contained within these studio walls. Clips will circulate. Words will be dissected. Headlines will frame it as a clash. But inside this moment, it's something more complicated. Not a fight. Not a surrender. A collision of perspectives under bright lights. As the camera pulls back slightly, capturing the entire table, the energy remains electric, charged but controlled. Joy glances once more at Gal. I respect that you didn't dodge. Gal inclines her head. I respect that you asked. The audience breaks into applause again. But behind the smiles, behind the applause, behind the polished television rhythm, something deeper has shifted. Because the confrontation isn't over. Not yet. And the next question, one neither of them sees coming, is about to change the tone of the entire room. The applause fades again, softer this time, like the studio itself is unsure whether to celebrate or brace. The camera stays wide for a fraction longer than usual. You can feel it now. This is no longer a promotional stop. It's become something raw, unpredictable. Joy Behar glances down at a small stack of cards in front of her. For the first time all morning, she hesitates. Then she looks up. There's something else, she says carefully. Across the table, Gal Gadot straightens ever so slightly. Not defensive. Alert. Joy continues, her tone less sharp, more deliberate. You've spoken about humanity. About listening. But some activists have called on Hollywood figures, specifically you, to go beyond statements. They say words aren't enough. The room stills again. Gal's fingers tighten together on the table. In what way? In the way of action, Joy says. Charitable commitments. Public advocacy for all affected communities. Concrete steps. They argue that if you're going to speak, you should also show. The question is different from the earlier ones. It's not about opinion. It's about proof. Gal nods slowly. I agree that action matters. Joy tilts her head. So what actions have you taken? A few audience members lean forward. This is the moment. Gal doesn't rush. I support organizations privately. I've met with families. I've donated. I don't always publicize it. Joy raises an eyebrow. Why not? Because not everything has to be content, Gal replies quietly. A ripple of reaction moves through the audience, some approving murmurs, a few skeptical expressions. Joy presses gently. But public action can inspire others to act. Yes, Gal agrees. It can. And, Joy prompts. And sometimes public action becomes performance, Gal finishes. That lands harder than expected. Joy's lips part slightly, caught between a smile and a rebuttal. Are you suggesting advocacy is performance? I'm suggesting, Gal says carefully, that when cameras are involved, motivations get questioned. The tension tightens like a drawn bow. Joy leans forward. But we're on camera right now. And I'm answering honestly, Gal says, meeting her gaze without flinching. The audience lets out a collective exhale. Joy studies her for a long moment. Then she shifts direction, subtly but decisively. You know, Joy says, her voice softer now. I've been in this business a long time. I've seen celebrities rise, fall, get canceled, get redeemed. Do you worry about that? The word cancelled hangs in the air like a warning siren. Gal's expression doesn't change, but her eyes darken slightly. I think everyone worries about being misunderstood. That's not what I asked, Joy replies. The audience goes silent again. You asked if I worry about being cancelled, Gal says calmly. No, I worry about losing integrity. Joy blinks. That's a strong statement, she says. It has to be, Gal responds. Joy taps her pen lightly against the table. Integrity in Hollywood can be flexible. A few nervous laughs break out. Gal allows a faint smile. Only if you let it be. Joy leans back, folding her arms loosely. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, Gal says. It's constant. The studio lights seem hotter now. The energy heavier. Joy glances toward the audience. There are people who think actors should just entertain. That this kind of discussion doesn't belong in a daytime talk show. And yet, Gal says softly, here we are. A small wave of applause rolls through the crowd. Joy's smile returns, but it's thoughtful now, not combative. You don't back down easily, do you? Gal's eyes glint. No. The answer is quiet. Certain. Joy nods slowly. I can see that. For a split second, there's something almost like mutual recognition between them. Two women who've built careers in male-dominated industries, both used to scrutiny, both accustomed to criticism. But then Joy asks the question no one expects. If you could sit across from someone who feels deeply hurt by your public stance, what would you say to them, without cameras? The shift is immediate. The audience leans in. Gal's composure changes. Less polished. More personal. I would ask them to tell me their story, she says. Joy watches closely. And if their story contradicts yours? Then we sit in that discomfort, Gal replies. The room is silent again. Joy nods once. That's not easy. No, Gal says. It isn't. A producer offstage signals that time is running short. The segment is nearing its end. But Joy seems unwilling to let it close on something safe. One last thing, she says. Gal's eyes lift. You've been described as a symbol of empowerment. But empowerment for some can feel like exclusion to others. Do you ever fear that the image of strength you project leaves no room for doubt? The question feels deeply personal. Gal takes her time. When I played Wonder Woman, she begins, her voice reflective, people saw a warrior. But what moved me most about her wasn't her strength. It was her doubt, her compassion, her willingness to question. Joy listens intently. I doubt myself all the time, Gal continues. But doubt doesn't erase conviction. It shapes it. The audience applauds softly, almost reverently. Joy smiles faintly. That's probably the most human answer you've given today. Gal laughs lightly. I've been human the whole time. The tension breaks just a little. Joy glances at the camera again. These conversations matter, even when they're uncomfortable. Gal nods, especially when they're uncomfortable. There's applause, louder now, more unified than at any point earlier. But just as the segment seems ready to close, a voice from the audience calls out, unplanned, unscripted. Thank you for listening. Heads turn. Cameras shift slightly, unsure whether to capture the interruption. Gal looks toward the voice and smiles. Thank you for speaking. The moment feels spontaneous. Real. Joy watches the exchange, then turns back to Gal. Well, she says with a half smile, you survived us. A ripple of laughter moves through the studio. Gal grins. Was I in danger? Joy smirks. Only intellectually. The audience erupts into full laughter and applause. But beneath the humor, something deeper lingers. This wasn't a shouting match. It wasn't a viral meltdown. It was a clash of perspectives, sharp, layered, unresolved. As the outro music begins to swell faintly in the background, the camera tightens on both women one last time. They shake hands, not dramatically, not theatrically, but firmly. A handshake forged in friction. And as the broadcast fades toward its closing credits, the energy in the room remains electric. Because outside these studio walls, the world is already reacting. Clips are being uploaded. Tweets are being drafted. Headlines are being written. Was it a confrontation? Was it a debate? Was it a lesson in accountability? Or a display of courage? By the time Gal steps backstage and the studio doors close behind her, the narrative has already begun to spin beyond anyone's control. And what happens next will be louder than anything said at that table. By the time the closing music fades on the view, the real show has already begun. Backstage, the applause is still echoing in fragments, but outside the studio walls, the internet detonates. Clips of Gal Gadot saying, I worry about losing integrity begins circulating within minutes. Another clip, Joy Behar leaning forward asking, intent and impact aren't the same, is posted with captions ranging from praise to outrage. On one side of social media, headlines read, Gal Gadot stands her ground in fiery exchange. On the other, Joy Behar presses Gal Gadot on accountability. The algorithm doesn't care about nuance. It cares about friction. And friction is everywhere. Backstage, Gal removes her mic slowly. Her shoulders finally drop. The poised composure she held for nearly an hour gives way to something quieter. Fatigue mixed with reflection. A publicist rushes in, phone in hand. It's trending, she says. Gal doesn't ask which part. She already knows. Meanwhile, in the studio, Joy remains at the table for a moment longer than usual. The crew resets around her, but she stares at the now dark camera lens. One of the producers leans in. That was something. Joy exhales. It needed to be. Because that's the thing about live television. It captures lightning, but it can't control where the storm travels next. Within hours, pundits dissect every pause, every raised eyebrow, every breath. Body language experts freeze frame the handshake. Notice the grip, one commentator says. Firm, neither dominant nor submissive. Political analysts debate the substance of the exchange. Entertainment bloggers focus on the tension. Fan pages choose sides. Some praise Gal's calm under pressure. Others applaud Joy's refusal to soften difficult questions. The narrative fractures into dozens of competing truths. That night, Gal sits alone in her hotel room, scrolling. She sees support. She sees anger. She sees strangers arguing about her character as if they've known her for years. One tweet reads, "She handled that with grace." Another, "Celebrities should stay out of it." Another, "Joy was right to challenge her." Another, "Why are we attacking someone for caring?" Gal locks her phone and sets it face down. Visibility, she had said, means exposure. Now the exposure feels blinding. Across town, Joy sits at her kitchen table, reading articles summarizing the segment. A commentator says she was aggressive. Another calls her fearless. She shakes her head slightly. She answered, Joy murmurs to herself. She didn't dodge. The next morning, major networks replay the clip. The words loop again and again. Silence doesn't protect anyone. Intent and impact aren't the same. I worry about losing integrity. Then I need to listen harder. For sentences. For sparks. Together, they become a wildfire of discussion. On daytime radio, callers argue passionately. On late-night shows, hosts joke lightly about Wonder Woman surviving the hot seat. On podcasts, cultural commentators analyze whether the exchange represents healthy discourse, or another example of celebrity politics colliding with entertainment. What makes it powerful isn't shouting. It's restraint. No one stormed off stage. No one raised their voice. No insults were thrown. And yet it felt explosive. Because sometimes the fiercest confrontations aren't loud. They're steady, relentless, unyielding. 2 women, 2 convictions, 1 table. By midweek, something unexpected happens. Clips emerge not of tension, but of the quietest moment. The part where Joy asked, "Has this ever scared you?" And Gal answered, "Yes." That clip spreads with a different tone. Slower, more reflective. Comment sections shift. Instead of outrage, people begin sharing their own fears, their own doubts about speaking publicly, their own struggles with being misunderstood. The narrative evolves. What began as a face-off becomes something else. A conversation. Days later, when Joy returns to the table, she references the moment briefly. "Last week we had a passionate discussion," she says. "And I think that's what this show is for." The audience applauds. Not thunderously, not divisively, just steadily. Meanwhile, Gal posts a short message online. "Thank you for engaging, even when it's hard." No grand statement. No defense. No elaboration. Just acknowledgement. The comment section floods again, but this time, the tone is less explosive. Because something shifted. The confrontation didn't end with a knockout. It ended with complexity. And complexity doesn't fit neatly into viral outrage. In the weeks that follow, think pieces continue dissecting the exchange. Journalism schools reference it as an example of controlled tension. Media critics debate whether talk shows should host such charged discussions. But the most powerful aftermath happens quietly. At book clubs. At dinner tables. In group chats. People replay the moment and ask themselves, would I have answered like that? Would I have asked those questions? The impact lingers not because someone won, but because neither backed down from discomfort. That handshake at the end, firm, measured, becomes symbolic in hindsight, not of agreement, but of willingness. And maybe that's what made it unforgettable. So what really happens when Gal Gadot faces off with Joy Behar? Not a meltdown, not a scandal, a mirror, held up to celebrity culture, to public responsibility, to the tension between influence and accountability. A reminder that conviction without listening becomes noise, and listening without conviction becomes silence. On Stage View, we don't just replay moments, we step inside them. Now we want to hear from you. Did Gal handle the pressure with grace? Was Joy right to press harder? Do celebrities have a responsibility to speak, or to stay silent? Drop your opinion in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going, respectfully, thoughtfully, passionately. And if you felt the tension, the emotion, the electricity of that table under studio lights, make sure you subscribe to Stage View for more explosive cinematic stories that pull you right into the moment. Because sometimes the most powerful battles aren't fought with raised voices. They're fought with steady eyes, unshaken conviction, and the courage to stay at the table.